Today we're discussing 4 different Epiphone Les Paul models. Hey, James G here with Tarpley Music in Fort Worth, Texas. Remember, you can always find us online at tarpleymusic.com. And please subscribe to the channel below if you haven't done so already. So you're wanting to get into a Les Paul. You're like, I like that sound. I want to get a Les Paul. I don't want to break the bank. So you start looking at some Epiphone Les Pauls, which is a great option. You get online, you type in Epiphone Les Paul, and a million things come up, right? So there's a lot of different models. So I kind of wanted to do a video that showed 4 of the very basic, most top sellers. And then a lot of the Pauls from that are kind of variations off of those, in my opinion. So that's what I wanted to do today. So we're going to talk about the Studio, the Standard, and the Custom. And the Standard will have 2. It'll have a 50s and a 60s version with differences between those. And so we start with the Les Paul Studio. Now, right off the bat, if you look at this, you notice it's pretty basic looking. So it's a great red, right? It's a great color, but there's not any binding, there's not any frilliness, there's not any that kind. And that's by design. That kind of keeps your price down. So they called it a Studio because it's like, hey, you're in the studio anyway. Who cares what it looks like, right? So it's but it's still mahogany body, and it's still a maple cap here. And then you've got an Indian Laurel fretboard, which is kind of the new rosewood for these price points. So now what all of them are going to have in common is a 12-inch radius, medium jumbo frets, and then the tailpiece, and then the Tunomatic. So this is going to be on all those, which really says Les Paul. This Tunomatic bridge, a lot known for the sustain of that, medium jumbo frets to get easy to fret out notes. And so all that's going to, and then a 12-inch radius, which is really common for Paul. So that's going to be on all these models. So that's kind of standard. Now, the other thing the Studio has, besides the lower price point, because it's cut out a lot of the frilliness and things like that, is these 2 volume notes actually have coil taps. So you can coil tap it down to get more of a single coil sound out of these particular ones. Of course, in the studio, it's great. If you need to do that on the spot, you can just pull your cap there. And then these are actually closed back tuners here, and so that is the Studio. It's a really great Les Paul sound to get all they went there, but it's just in a real basic package. So now we move on to an Epiphone Standard. So this is a 50s, and I'll also talk a little bit about the 60s model and the differences there, but a lot of similarities. Okay, so you still have, like in the Studio, you have your 12-inch radius, medium jumbo frets, Tunomatic bridge, and then the stop tail piece. So very standard in Les Paul there. Still have an Indian Laurel fretboard here. Now the big change in the 50s and 60s comes in the neck. So this is going to be based off more of a 50 style neck from Les Paul, which they call a medium C. And then the 60s has a slim taper 60 style C neck. So the neck is definitely going to feel different there. The best way to do that, pick up a 50s and the 60s and the feel. The other thing that will change with these is the pickups itself. These are the Epiphone Pro Buckers 1 and 2 in the 50s. And then you get a 2 and a 3 in the 60s. So the 60s is going to have more output. You can get a little bit more grungier. As the 60s Brit rock and stuff came in a little heavier, they wanted more output. So it really makes it into that. 50s and 60s come in very beautiful tops. They still have mahogany back. Now the top on these this is a AAA flame veneer on the 50s, and then it's a AA flame top, maple top on the 60s. So very similar in a lot of ways, but what you're really going to get is the tonal difference of how the wiring and the pickups are, and then the neck itself is a big difference between the 50s and the 60s. But other than that, standard Les Paul. So the last one we're talking about today is the Epiphone Les Paul Custom, offered in 2 colors, solid white or solid black. There are definitely some differences in these guitars here. First of all, you've got a ebony fretboard. We've moved away from Indian Laurel fretboard and gone into the ebony fretboard. The other thing is there's no maple cap on this. This is a solid piece of mahogany. So a lot of tone, a lot of sustain you're going to get out of that. You do get gold hardware on the black or the white there. And then this particular neck is also, it's a 60 slim taper neck there. And you're actually going into, got out of Epiphone, and now we're going into Grover, the 18-to-1 tuners there. Still got, like the 60s, it's a Pro Bucker 2 and a 3. So Doesn't sound like much, but you're getting solid piece of mahogany, ebony fretboard. Big upgrade for guys who want a lot of sustain and want a lot of output right from that bit there. And of course, you get the gold hardware. Now we're talking frilly purfling, and the binding and all the pretty stuff is coming with it too. So definitely someone who really wants that max playability. If they're doing a lot, maybe a lot of fast playing or hard rock, they want that the ebony, the fretboard there. So that is the big difference. So let's recap just a little bit. So we've got 12-inch radius, medium jumbo frets, the Just-O-Matic bridge, and the tailpiece is standard on all these. So why would I want a studio? Well, I want a coil tap. I want to keep the price down. Okay, you could do that, right? Going into the standards, I want the 50s or 60s neck style, and I want a better finish, and then I want more output and a little bit better pickup situation than you're getting in a ProBucker, so you would go into a standard there. Still Indian Laurel fretboard on both of those. I want another step up. I think I want the ebony. I want a solid piece of mahogany so I can get a ton of tone out of there, more mellow, take off a little of the brightness of the maple cap, and then upgrade it on the tuners, and I still want ProBucker 2 and 3s. You go to a custom. So that's really it. And then there's a lot of signature models and other things where we use different kinds of pickups. But generally speaking, they're going to go off of a studio somehow, or a standard, or the custom. So now let's hear a little bit of the differences. So we're going to play the 3 guitars that we have. I'm going to play the same real basic lick. We're going through a Boss GT1000 core on just a simple setting, an amp setting there. We'll do a little clean and dirty. And then you can just kind of hear the little differences of these 3 guys. All right, so now we have the custom, and I'm sitting in the neck position or the rhythm position on clean. All right, then we're moving into middle position, which is both. Bridge pickup or treble. So now we'll go back to rhythm. We're changing into an overdrive channel. Middle. And then bridge. So now I have the 50 standard. Remember, this is the ProBucker 2 and the ProBucker 3 here, and I'm starting back on the rhythm or the neck pickup on clean. Into the middle position. Or our treble position. All right, we're moving over to our overdriven channel, going back to neck pickup. Back into the middle. Ridiculously overdriven, but it's awesome. So we're going into the treble or the bridge. Where you really want to live for that Les Paul kind of pinch harmonic sound. So first up, I have the Epiphone Studio Les Paul. And remember, these are the Alnico Classic Pro pickups on this. And I'm going to show all the positions, including the coil tap, because the Studio actually has a coil tap per pickup. So the first setting I have is in the clean. We're chilling here on the rhythm or the neck pickup. tap that. All right, go in the middle, both with both knobs down. And this is with both coil tapped. And then we're going into our bridge pickup. Coil tap that one. All right, we'll go through that same sequence again, except now we're going to go to the ridiculously overdriven. Coil tap. Middle, so both pick up. In the middle with both tap. Then to the bridge pickup, full humbucker. And coil tap. So you're ready to get into a Les Paul, and you start looking at the Epiphone Les Pauls, and now I hope you have kind of an idea of where to start. And you can start at about $500 and getting an Epiphone Les Paul Studio, and then you can expand and go up from there, and there's a lot of different aspects of that. So what I really wanted to hold clear to this was getting a Studio or getting a standard or getting a custom. There is a price increase for certain things, but for the most part, very similar guitars. And so some people will go out specifically to get a Studio because they want it, you know, so it's not necessarily good, better, best in that sense. So I hope that clears up a little bit of just if you're trying to get into Epiphone Les Pauls. And from you heard from all the recordings that we just did, I mean, they all sound great. You know, it's Les Paul sound, clean, completely overdriven, or whatever it is like that. So if you got any more questions or you're curious about finishes or anything like that, come on down to Tarpley and talk to us and just start playing a lot of these, because like I said, between all of them, the necks are going to feel different. So a big part of that is I can describe and I can give you specs all day long. It doesn't matter till it's in your hands. So come down and start just playing it, and you'll figure out which one feels best for you. And so I really hope you did like this video, that you got something out of it. Please hit like if you did enjoy it, and subscribe to our channel below if you haven't done so already. And if you'd like to know as we drop more videos, because we drop them every single week, just turn on notifications and we'll see you on the next one.